All right, gotta talk about the book I just finished, which was I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Makkai. I actually listened to most of this on Libby, and then when I went to the book festival this weekend, this was one of the books at the Friends of the Library book sale, so I got it for like $2 or $3. So score. So I was able to um, read it a lot faster than listen to it on audio. If you haven't heard of this book, though, honestly, I'd forgotten a little bit about what this was about. I'd put it on hold on Libby months ago. But essentially, Bodhi is our narrator, our protagonist, and she went to this boarding school called Granby, and her roommate is murdered when they're seniors. It was her junior year roommate, and she ends up murdered. And I'm obsessed with like true crime and true crime podcasts. And there's a lot of talk about in the book about how, true crime podcasts and people who are obsessed with true crime, like it's kind of problematic, which it obviously can be. So that is an issue that is touched on in the book. But she ends up back at Granby teaching a class on podcasting because she's turned into this podcaster. And one of her students brings up the point that, they have the wrong man in prison. But anyway, her students make this podcast and they are relooking at a bunch of evidence because this happened like 25 years ago. So obviously the technology wasn't as great and they wanted a cut and dry case. And without giving too much away, you get to see how the thought process devolves and the evidence that comes through 25 years later and how, things in the 90s were not as good as they are now. And, the due process that was done in Thalia's case, which is Bodhi's roommate's name, we see that was super botched. But if you have not read it and you are a true crime fanatic like I am, I highly recommend reading it. I won't give away the ending. It's super interesting, just going back and forth, like with who you think really was the murderer, or do they have the right guy in prison? So if you read it or you have read it, let me know what you think. And also, yes, we can just like take a quick glance at my giant TBR of my physical ones that are behind me. And that's not even all of them. Okay, bye.